Fellow graduates, esteemed members of the faculty, friends and families clutching tissue boxes, good morning, and thank you for joining us today to celebrate this amazing accomplishment. My name is Elizabeth Clarke. I am a teacher, and like all teachers, one of my favorite times of the day is when I read stories to my students. So today, I would like to tell you a story. Once upon a time, in a land far away, lived a little girl whose favorite game was playing school. She would line up all her dolls and spend hours telling them stories and teaching them about the world. And when she grew up, she did in fact become a teacher. That little girl was me. I loved being a teacher so much that it didn't bother me that my Prince Charming never had a job. And then my home country of Greece, my kingdom, fell into hard times following a major recession, and I could no longer support the family on my own. Prince Charming then said, I know, we will move to my kingdom across the ocean, where I speak the language, and where I promise I will get a job, and we will live happily ever after. That is how I ended up leaving everything I had known, everything I owned, and everything I had worked hard for, including a 20-year career in teaching behind, to start our lives anew. We moved to the United States from Greece with nothing but 3 suitcases of clothing, a toy box, a heart full of hope, a head filled with dreams, and of course Prince Charming's promise of a happily ever after. I will skip ahead a few chapters and tell you that Prince Charming never did get a job. I found out the hard way that degrees don't transfer that easily between countries. The only jobs I was qualified for were low-paying, dead-end ones, like stocking shelves for $10 an hour. 6 months into the move, I was working 60 to 70 hours a week just to put food on the table, only to come home one day and be told by Prince Charming that with me working so much, he was feeling neglected. And he ended up leaving me shortly after. Not even a year into moving halfway across the world, I was divorced, with no career prospects, and solely responsible for 3 small children, while still trying to get a better paying job. That is how I ended up driving a school bus for my kids' school district. And then I ended up getting a second job working as a special education paraprofessional. Let me tell you, when I walked into that classroom, I knew I was home. I knew I had to get back into teaching somehow. But when I brought this up to my ex-father-in-law, who was a retired teacher himself, he looked me dead in the eye and loudly declared me crazy. How was I going to go to college while working full-time, raising 3 kids by myself, one of them autistic, and where on earth would I find the money to do all this? No, he said. I would just have to come to terms that I would never, ever be a teacher again. But for me, it wasn't just a job. It was my whole identity, my life's purpose. But then I found WGU, and I knew this was the college for me. I finally started my journey on July 1st, 2023. By that time, I had met my new husband, Matt. I love you. Had added another son to our family, and life was good for a while. I did well in my first 2 terms, and then my life took a huge sidestep during term 3, following a series of horrible events that I had no control over. Our family's home was sold out from under us with only 2 weeks' notice. This almost left my family homeless. I only managed to do 9 credit units that term, and I ended up losing my scholarship. This combination of events extinguished the fire burning inside of me, and I decided to give up, and I planned to silently withdraw from school. However, I could still hear the whispers of my dreams, and I secretly kept looking at teaching position postings. That is how I ended up working as a paraprofessional again in another district. I was told I would be responsible for a single student, a tough case. Was I up to it? I said yes. That one 3-foot student changed the trajectory of my whole life. And I want to think I played a small part in changing theirs as well. 3 months into my new job, on a Thursday afternoon, my principal offered me my own self-contained classroom after the second teacher that year had quit. It will be tough, my principal said. Are you up to it? I said yes. And on that very next Monday, I walked into that classroom as the teacher of record in first time in 9 years. And just like that, the embers in my soul reignited and became a roaring fire once again. Not long after, I was offered the position for the next year as well, on the condition that I finish my degree and get my certification before the new school year started. No problem, right? I mean, I only had about 65% of it left and less than 4 months to do it in. Well, as the old adage goes, where there's a will, there's a... I completed 64 credit units. That is 22 courses in 14 weeks. And I signed my first teaching contract before I had even graduated from WGU. I stand before you today as Miss Lizzie, teacher to 6 amazing little humans in a self-contained autistic room. In one of the most colorful and diverse districts in the country. Go Falcons! I came to this country with nothing but hopes and promises. And today, at 47 years old, I am a career teacher again. All because a principal and a little boy saw something in me and didn't give up, even when I was ready to give up on myself. Fellow graduates, I applaud you. Because I know you faced your own villains and survived the crises and catastrophes of your own story. But you persevered and you came out the other side. I want to thank my husband, Matt, for giving me the push I needed to get this done. I couldn't have done it without you. I want to thank my kids, John, Cody, Jacob, and Lainey, for believing in me and for not grumbling when chicken nuggets or frozen pizza were on the menu for the 4th night in a row. A big thank you to my WGU mentors, Amanda Staggs and Lindy Harley, for cheering me on. To my amazing paraprofessionals, Kiera Kendricks and Jake Dunham, for helping me bring chaos into order. To my principal, Blair Feldkamp, for giving me a chance when nobody else would. And last but not least, to the families, past, present, and future, for trusting me day in and day out with the most important people in their lives, their children. And she lived and taught happily ever after, the end.